And I'm curious, Danny, from the old days, like 1960s to today. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are still there that were there in the 60s. Like, are you all still using the same yeast?
Well, can I go back even further than the 60s?
Let's do it.
Now, I will tell you, though, that I am a little intimidated about that because you are a historian and a whiskey historian to boot. So I will.
He's no Oscar Getz.
I will preface this by saying that some of the dates that I might provide are probably close, and I have no problem if you correct me, okay? Because there are some concerns there. But we're gonna taste something here in a little bit. And when we talk about the distillery, there are two physical features in our distillery that have been up since 1879. So the sort of a limestone wall of our boiler room is original construction, and then the old cooper shop, which is currently a maintenance shop, which might be turned into something down the road, is also from 1879. The rest of the facade of the distillery was built in the 1940s. So if we go back to when this distillery originated, and I believe it was 1879, it was the Thomas S. More Distillery, and that was soon after Thomas More sold his shares to the Mattingly portion of the Mattingly and More Distillery,
Right.
which literally in our facility, I believe our bottle shop is where the Mattingly and More Distillery was. And when Thomas More sold out, he went literally across the street to build the Thomas More Distillery. And that ran up until Prohibition. And then we did not run apparently during Prohibition. And after Prohibition, his son Cornelius More, known as Con.
I like corn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Con is
Hey,
like. I
Corn,
mean,
get
I
over
feel like there should be some connection there.
There is
Con.
there is kind of, and I've heard that before, by the way. So he started up again in 33 and sold to Getz, I believe, in 1945. The distillery burned to the ground in 1946-ish. You get a bunch of Kentucky good old boys and a bunch of high proof spirits, and something happened and it burned to the ground. Anyways, so to your original question, and by the way, Getz had it until I believe 1982 when he retired and then sold it. Unfortunately, he died in 83. And for those who don't know or who are soon to visit Bardstown, all of his memorabilia related to his book, to some degree, was donated to the Oscar Getz Whiskey Museum. Is that the correct full name?
It's the Oscar Getz Museum of Whiskey.
Museum of Whiskey, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Incredible. It's in a historic place as well, Spalding Hall, which has got a history too. But anyway,
Totally haunted.
Yeah.
Totally haunted. You walk in there and you can just feel the haunted.
I went to many events there as a kid.
It's
I went to school just right down the road.
It's pretty cool. So anyway, so back to your original question, if I remember it, we have some fermenters that were built in 1944.
Cypress.
And not Cypress,
No,
but they
not
are,
Cypress.
we have actual blueprints.
That's makers, Fred.
They're literally blueprints, and they say copper bearing carbon steel. So there's also copper within that carbon steel that was probably there mostly for corrosion.
Mm-hmm.
But copper, as we all know in the fermentation and distillation world, is critically important. So they are copper bearing carbon steel. And then we have a series of fermenters that were installed in 1969, and then we get more contemporary. We have stainless steel from 2017, 2020, and then a little bit from 2021. So there is a history of old equipment.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the gearboxes, a lot of the piping goes back to the 40s. So there is, an interesting thing that goes with carbon steel as well. Carbon steel cannot be cleaned in the same way as stainless steel. So we have to be very, very careful. And there's a certain amount of terroir, as I would call it, that sort of resides in our distillery. There are things that grow that are flavor enhancing. And I think it's a big part of our signature. So there's a lot of history going on at this distillery for sure.
So the original yeast, are you all still using the original?
Sorry, I know I forgot something.
Yeah.